start with Maud Bodkin. Maud Bodkin was one of the first scholars to apply Jung's ideas to literature. But she differs from Jung. She rejects the notion that archetypes are stamped upon the physical organisms, or that is inherited in the structure of the brain. She rejects that idea which Jung suggests. According to her, they are persistent cultural symbols that are passed down through generations, through folklores, myths and literature. So Jung said that they were part of the unconscious, but Bodkin, she rejects and says that it is passed down by generations. She has used the archetypal pattern to refer to something that lives within us, which is a source and medium of the effective presentation of an ancient theme. The practitioners of various modes of archetypal criticism, besides Bodkin and Northrop Frye, were G. Wilson Knight, Robert Graves, Philip Wilkwright, Richard Chase, Leslie Fielder, and Joseph Campbell. However, it was Frye or Northrop Frye, he was a Canadian literary critic, and his seminal work, Anatomy of Criticism, that theorized the archetypes in pure literary terms, ignoring anthropology and the unconscious. He differs from that of Jung and Fraser. Frye develops the function and effects of archetypes. He makes clear that literature or literary archetypes play an essential role in refashioning the material universe into an alternative verbal universe that is humanly intelligible and viable, because it is adapted to essential human needs and concern. Now, the one reason why we consider Northrop Frye, he has theorized the archetypes in his work Anatomy of Criticism and makes it more convincing than basing it with anthropology and science. Of course, he does. It is a part of it, but he gives a more clear-cut definition of it. For Frye, each literary narrative is an order of words, plot, arguments embedded in literary pieces with unique artistry. He divided literature into two parts or two categories: comedic and tragic. Now, comedic can be further divided into comedy and romance, and tragic is divided into tragedy and satire. All these four genres of literature can be linked with four seasons, and they will be the archetypes. Spring season represents comedy, summer season represents romance, autumn tragedy, winter is satire. Also note that satire and irony to Frye is the same, the one and the same. To Northrop Frye, satire and irony means the same. In all this, you will find a progress of character going on. Example, the novel starts with summer, the birth of the hero. It's symbolic. And then you have autumn, the movement towards the defeat or death of the hero, the challenges that he faces. And winter, in winter, the hero is absent. The spring season, you have the rebirth of the hero. It is also the defeat of winter, or the defeat of darkness, or defeat of death. And he also divides, or the concepts Northrop Frye has also given us 5 spheres. According to him, he divides the archetype into 5 spheres. There are 5 spheres in archetypes, and they are human, animal, vegetation, mineral, and water. Now, I did tell you that they had divided, or he had divided literature into 2 categories, comedic and tragic, right? So according to him, there are symbols in these spheres, in these categories also. Human category can be divided into comedic and tragic. Under comedic, you will have, in human world, you will have wish fulfilling. There everybody is happy. Whatever you wish, you get that, and that is the comedic human world. In contrast to the comedic human world, you have the tragic human world sphere. Again, in animal sphere, can be divided into comedic and tragic. In animal sphere, the comedic genre are pastorals. They represent the meek, innocent, docile characters. Like for instance, the sheep. They are meek, innocent characters. Whereas animals in the tragic world are predatory. They are hunters. They are wild, like wolves, tiger, lion, and so on. And you have vegetation. Next, you have vegetation. Vegetation also can be divided into comedic and tragic. And comedic again, you have the pastorals represented by gardens, parks, roses, lotus, full lush green vegetation. As for tragic, it is represented by wild forest, barren landscape, and so on. Next, the world, again, the next sphere is that of minerals. And minerals in the comedic world would be precious stones. And in the tragic, it would be the other, not so special stones. And it would be, in comedic, it would be represented by these precious gems. Whereas in the tragic, it would be the ruins of a desert or the sinister geometric images, and so on. Similarly, in water also. Water, it can be represented in comedic and tragic. Comedic is a representation of rivers where there are like free flowing rivers, and it shows the flux of life. Whereas tragic means sea, floods, and so on. So you see how Frye associates with these different symbols and images to different kinds of literature, and they are all common. You find that in almost all literary pieces. If you are to look at literature as representing romance, again, in human world, it would be the hero and the heroine getting married, wish fulfilling, and everything is happy. And if it is the vegetation, you will have the hero and the heroine and the park and the beautiful roses represented. Everything is happy. It's more bright and beautiful. So if you look at every work of literature, you will find that. You can see it in any poem or work. If it is on the tragic side, it would be a lament or an ode. It would talk about a hunter. It would talk about a wild forest. It would talk about the flood, the sea, the isolation, if it's a poem. If it's a poem or a lament, or if it's an ode, it would speak. If you take a look at our elegy in the country churchyard, you'll find a lot of themes, or you'll find some of these spheres in right there is a lot of isolation, a mood of melancholy. It would never have wishful thinking or happy days. So Frye states that literature is the object to the science of criticism as life is to biology. Frye states that literature is the object to the science of criticism as life is to biology. Next person is Joseph Campbell, and Joseph Campbell in A Hero with 1,000 Faces identifies 5 stages in hero's journey. Now I want you to take your text and turn to archetypal criticism. Now Joseph Campbell, he identifies 5 stages in a hero's life. You have departure, you have initiation, the road of trials, the entry to the innermost cave, and return and reintegration with the society. And when you turn to page 50, you will see the summary of hero archetypes based on Campbell's A Hero with 1,000 Faces. His work, A Hero with 1,000 Faces. Based on that, you will have a description. You will have a chart that summarizes the hero archetype. And you can just go through it. Page 50, the quest, the task, the journey, the initiation, the ritual, the fall, death and rebirth, battle between good and evil, the unhealable wound. And you will also find the character archetypes, which is a part of the primordial images in mythology. The common characters of myth are not simply characters but archetypes of universal condition. You have the hero. The hero is the protagonist whose life is a series of well-marked adventures. The circumstances of his birth are unusual and he is raised by a guardian. He will have to leave his kingdom only to return to it upon reaching manhood. Characterized by courage, strength and honor, the hero will endure hardship, even risk his life for the good of all. Leaves the familiar to enter an unfamiliar and challenging world. Try to think about such a hero from our myth, from our epics. You will find many. Then you have the young man from the province. Again, the hero who returns to his home and heritage, where he is a stranger, who can see new problems and new solution. Again, it is there in almost all the myths, all the stories, many literature will find that. You will have such a hero, a young man from the province. Then you have the initiates. The initiates are the young heroes or heroines who must go through some training and ceremony before undertaking their quest. You have the mentor. A mentor is an older, wiser teacher to the initiates. He often serves as a father or a mother figure. He gives the hero gifts like weapon or food or magic or information. Serves as a role of role model or as hero's conscience. The mentor-pupil relationship. In this relationship, the mentor teaches the hero or pupil the necessary skills for surviving the quest. Then the threshold guardian tests the hero's courage and worthiness to begin the journey. Father-son conflict, hunting groups of companions, loyal retainers, friendly bees, the shadow, the devil figure, the evil figure with ultimately good heart. That is, you have the devil figure with the potential to be good. This person is usually saved by the love of the hero. Eventually that villain will turn to be a good man. Because when he sees the love of the hero, he turns into a good man, and maybe that happens at the end of the story when he dies, before he dies. Okay, the creature of nightmare, the scapegoat, the outcast, the platonic ideal, damsel in distress, the earth, the mother earth, the temptress or the black goddess. Like you have the film Yotha in Malayalam, right? So where you have that woman all dressed in black and performing black magic, just to get the that little boy, Rampoche, right? So that can be considered as the temptress or the black goddess. Then you have the white goddess. Then you have the unfaithful wife. Then you have the star-crossed lovers. That is the two characters engaged in love affair, fated to end tragically for one or both due to the disapproval of the society, friends, family, or some tragic situation. Romeo and Juliet, Layla Majnun. So there is a world of archetypal symbolism also. as summarized by Campbell. So it's not just here, it's also there in the world of symbols. It's there in your textbook, page number 54. Now you have the light versus darkness, you have innate wisdom versus educated stupidity, supernatural intervention, you have fire and ice as symbols, fire representing knowledge, light, life and rebirth, while ice, like the desert, represents ignorance, darkness, sterility and even death. Nature versus mechanistic, world of nature is good while technology is evil, the threshold, gateway to new world which the hero must enter to change and grow, the underworld, the place of death, or metaphorically an encounter with the dark side of the self, entering an underworld in a form of facing a fear of death. Heaven versus wilderness, and places of safety, which contrast sharply against the dangerous wilderness. And heroes are often sheltered for a time to regain health and resources. Now, water versus desert, heaven versus hell, and you have the crossroads, the maze, the tower, the magic weapon, the whirlpool, fog, colors. When you come to colors, color symbolizes what? Red symbolizes blood, sacrifice, fashion, disorder. Green, growth, hope, fertility. Blue, high, positive, security, tranquility, spiritual purity. Black, darkness, chaos, mystery, the unknown, death, wisdom, evil, melancholy. It can even represent wisdom, black. White, white can represent light, purity, innocence, timelessness, and white can also represent it in the negative way. White can represent death, white can represent horror, white can represent supernatural. Yellow, enlightenment and wisdom, and so on. And you have the numbers 3 representing light, spiritual awareness, unity, holy trinity. 3, the number 3. It also is a negative one, in a demonic one, the number of devil. 3. We have studied that in Macbeth, the 3 witches, 3, right? 3 chanting. So it is used as the negative as well as in the positive sense. 4, associate with the circle, life cycle, 4 seasons, family, female principles, earth, nature, elements. 7, number 7 represents most potent of all symbolic numbers, signifying the union of 3 and 4. The completion of a cycle, the perfect order, the perfect number, religious symbol. That is why we have 7 days in a week. A cycle completes a cycle, a perfect order, a perfect number. Okay. So next, again, it is a work for you. Page number 55, archetypal criticism and example. Now, based on this, you will have to see, I have already explained to you the concepts. Now what you have to do is use these concepts and understand how it works. It's already written and explained to you. All you have to do is read how Hamlet becomes one of the texts for archetypal reading. Okay, so you have to do a little bit of research, without which you will not understand. But this, I'm not going to help you. You will have to do it on your own, because you are literature students and you are in the final year. There should be research is important. You should start thinking of yourself from a research as a research scholar. You're not a research scholar, but you have to look at it from that angle. So very soon you're going to do your project. So when you learn a concept, you should see how that concept is applicable or applied in the text. Okay, so with that we'll end archetypal. We'll come to an end with the topic archetypal criticism, and in the next class we shall start deconstruction. Again, before jumping into deconstruction, don't tell me, miss, it is not there in the textbook. You will have a problem there, but being a literature student myself, I know how you are supposed to learn. Okay, so without understanding structuralism, how can you understand post-structuralism? How can you understand deconstruction? So we'll have to start with structuralism. It's there in the text a little bit, but we'll have to understand what structuralism is, and then we'll move to deconstruction. Okay, all right. So thank you.